So behind the scenes, Donald Trump is being abandoned by top Republican donors and behind the scenes influential people in favor of a new 2024 favorite, Ron DeSantis. And so what Politico and other sources are reporting is that a lot of these people are trying to get Ron DeSantis to consider a 2024 presidential run because they see in him somebody that is close to Trump, but that doesn't have a lot of the baggage that Donald Trump has. And so you're starting to see the GOP behind the scenes try to negotiate a future run for president that doesn't wholly directly abandon Trumpism, but recognizes that Donald Trump as a personal brand is toxic. Right? Basically what they're saying is you got a guy in Ron DeSantis, he's young, he's a relatively handsome guy, all these sorts of things. He's close to Trump. He sort of took the Trump style line on COVID. He wasn't too strict with the restrictions and all these sorts of things. And that now with Trump on the sidelines, this is a guy that could be a pick for 2024. Now, you're probably asking yourself, he's currently governor of Florida, and he's got to be looking at his 2022 re-election. How could he be thinking about a run for president just 2 years after that, which would be halfway through his gubernatorial term? But what a lot of people are noting is his potential rise to power would look very similar to George Bush Jr. If you don't recall, Bush was elected as governor in Texas in 1998, and he ran for president in 2000 and quote-unquote won that election, obviously very disputed by the Supreme Court and all those sorts of things, and then basically quit his term as Texas governor to become president of the United States. And he used that profile as a governor of a big state to not only, travel around his own state, but travel around the country and meet with big Republican officials, meet with big Republican donors, meet with the conservative establishment, but also a lot of the grassroots, and build that sort of movement that could help him win the primary and make himself a national figure. And you could see Ron DeSantis do the same thing. He's a young guy. He could definitely build that sort of brand. He could definitely use his next run for governor in Florida as a chance to build a more national profile. Again, he's close to Trump, but he isn't Trump. And I could see it happening. And this isn't me wanting to see it happen, because what I've warned all along is precisely something like this happening. Because what Bernie Sanders and AOC and lots of progressives have said is that the defeat of Trump, however necessary, however really good news, was not the end of Trump and Trumpism. Certainly, Trump could run again in 2024, but even if he doesn't, even if Trump is done forever in electoral politics, and even if his own kids say, all decide never to run for electoral politics, although I'm skeptical of that being the case, the reality is the Republican Party is very much still the party of Donald Trump ideologically. And even if they decide to change the messaging, if they get rid of the absolute brashness and the absolute no-filter style of Donald Trump, they may try to find someone like a DeSantis that embodies Trumpism, but with a more palatable image to, say, middle-class suburbanites. That if you take elements of Trumpism and strip away the open awfulness of Donald Trump as a human being and put someone slicker on stage who maybe with the mask off is just as bad as Trump, but looks better in front of a camera, then you might win back some of those white middle-class people, those white educated women that just didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2020, didn't vote for Republicans in 2018, but clearly voted for Trump in 2016 when they really didn't know him all that well. And so they're open to something of a Trump-style candidate if they're not personally offended by them. And so this is something that the left, that the Democratic Party has to get ready for. It's not necessarily the biggest threat that Donald Trump runs again. In fact, Donald Trump running again might be the best case scenario in some ways, because you will instantly mobilize well over half the country against him. But if it's Ron DeSantis, or if it's another young, photogenic, Trump-aligned but not Trump-styled candidate, they could quickly build a consensus in the Republican Party and win over some of the people that Trump lost over the last couple years. And that's going to be devastating, because you do not want a Donald Trump who is competent. You do not want somebody that has all the awful ideas of Donald Trump, but the discipline to actually implement them. We were almost lucky that someone as evil as Donald Trump was such a buffoon, because in that buffoonery, a lot of things didn't get done that maybe could have gotten done if he was a smarter politician. And Republicans are starting to realize that. There is potency in Trumpism if you strip away Donald Trump. And Ron DeSantis may be the guy to make that happen.